man really a circus clown, or is he an imposter trying to fool this panel? Tom Poston, Pat Carroll, Don Ameche, and Betty White on To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Camel Cigarettes. Good evening, panel.
Good evening.
Bud, how are you? Well and happy. Pat and Betty, nice to have you back with us tonight.
Thank you. Be here.
All set? Let's meet our first team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Charles Bost.
My name is Charles Bost.
My name is Charles Bost.
All right, panel, please open your envelope for the first time tonight, remove your affidavit card, and follow along as I read. I, Charles Bost, until recently was an assistant professor at a major American university. Although I hold a Doctor of Philosophy degree and have spent most of my adult life in an academic atmosphere, I have always been fascinated by the circus. The past 2 summers, I traveled with the circus as a clown. This year, I decided to give up teaching and play the full circus season as the character I created, Onions the Clown. Signed, Charles Bost. Here we have our first group tonight, panel, each one claiming to be Charles Bost this time, professor, newly turned circus clown. And let's begin our first round of questioning tonight with Don Ameche. Don?
Thank you, Bud. Number 1, what was Concalino famous for?
I don't know.
Number 2, would you?
High flyer act.
Would you agree with that, number 3?
I don't know him.
Number 2, how did Lillian Lietzel die?
I think she was performing without a net and she fell.
Number 1, what would you consider the best high wire act of all time?
That's a difficult question.
Number 2, would you have an opinion on that?
I would say it would probably be the Christianis.
Number 3, what was the name of the other professor who turned lion tamer, just died recently?
George Kerr.
Betty?
As Don was saying, number 1, what other famous clown also uses the same makeup as Emmett Kelly?
No one uses exactly Emmett Kelly's makeup. Several come close to his characterization.
Why not number 2?
Well, it's a trademark amongst clowns never to copy a clown's makeup once he's established it.
Number 3, who was Emily Hannaford?
Oh, he used to play second base for the Cleveland Indians.
Number 1, who was Emily Hannaford?
One of the members of the Hannaford family, a riding family, I think.
Number 2, who was Emily Hannaford?
Emily Hannaford worked for Ringling Brothers as a advanced publicity man.
Emily?
Tom?
Well,
Glory be. They're terrible liars. Aren't they? Let me see. Number 3, what nation, what country originated the Montevecchis? Italy. Number 2, who is Russia's most famous clown? Do you happen to know that?
No, I do not.
Number 3, do you know? No, I don't. Number 1?
Popoff.
All right, I will. Number 1? Who flies out of the cannon in the Ringling Brothers circus?
The zucchinis have the cannon act there.
I thought it was a vegetable.
those onions.
Number 2, what is the name of your makeup base?
I make my own makeup base out of zinc oxide.
You really do? Number 2?
Yes, I do.
Pat?
Number 3, is Jacques Maritain teaching any place in this country now?
I really don't know.
Number 2?
I don't know either.
Number 1?
Would you repeat the name, please?
Jacques Maritain, the French philosopher.
I do not believe I know. Not to know.
Number 3, where's the backyard?
That's the area that is behind the main tent.
Number 2, what is the name of the classic clown? You know, the pictures most of us see in our children's books and the rest of it. Not the tramp clown, but the, you know, the kind
Well, I
of...
think you're thinking of Lou Jacobs, whose face is on the poster of all clown posters with the high forehead makeup.
That's about it. We've dwelt on clowns, and now let's see if we can clown our way through a right answer or two here. As we come to the time of voting, which we ask you to do now, panel, if you will, without consultation, will you mark your ballots and vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3? And of course, as is our custom, the challengers will receive $250 for each incorrect vote. Are we all set?
I guess I am.
All right, Tom, for whom did you vote this time?
Well, I'm going to have to play the game straight because although very often the one who gives the most accurate and the most immediate answers is not the one, I don't see how we could vote for anybody but number 2 tonight because he was the only one that really answered very much of anything.
Okay, Pat?
I'm afraid for some of the same reasons, I went along with number 2 as well.
Okay, Don, what about you?
I voted for him. He knew about Leitzel, and I guess the Christianis probably would have been the most famous of all the high wire acts.
Huh?
I guess. I'm not sure of that.
Betty?
Well, I may have the wrong answer, but I have a good reason. No, as I understand it, the real one has to tell the truth. And both number 3 and number 2 made up kind of a wild answer. I made up the name Emily Hannaford, but still, number 1 mentioned that it could have been a member of Poodles Hannaford and the famous riding group, so I'm going to go with number 1.
All right, there we have it. The die is cast. And I do mean cast, as we find out right now which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real professor turned circus clown. So will the real Charles Bost please stand up? Thank you, sir, very much. Pleasure to have you.
You know, we should have known he had that one academic look about him. I think that should have been the tip.
One academic look.
I think number 2 really deserves a vote of commendation from him. He was wonderful.
Believe me, John, believe me.
So did number 3 with the trembling hand and one eye down.
Well, let's find out about those other 2. Number 2, would you tell us your real name and what you really do? You were very well versed in this.
My name is Harris Cattleman. I'm Executive Vice President of Goodson Todman Television Production.
You see, there's nothing but real pros in that office, I'll tell you
That's right,
that.
and your job is safe tonight.
Number 3, would you tell us your real name and what you do, please?
My name is Bud Austin. I'm Executive Vice President of Goodson Todman. Bud Austin! East Coast.
I tell you, that was
I still can't tell it's you.
He'll unveil for you
I don't
later.
know, it seems kind of like nepotism night, doesn't
I
it?
understand. Happy nepotism, though.
Do
Happy
they own the
nepotism
circus,
to you.
too?
No, not quite, not quite. Just a small interest in it, like any of us has. Well, let's check up the score. We find there were 3 incorrect. That means that $250 each, gentlemen, a total of $750 from Camel Cigarettes for a bit of clowning, and also, of course, a carton of Camels for each of you. Thank you so much for adding to our evening's fun. Good night and good luck to you. How often have you, like all of us, wished there were more hours in the day? Well, one solution is just to pack more activity into the hours there are, like this. I think before we meet our next challengers, I'd like to explain why none of our panelists would, of course, know the 2 gentlemen who work for Goodson Todman. Number 1, of course, Harris Cattleman is Executive Vice President on the West Coast of Goodson Todman. He's never here.
The one who was number 2.
That's right. And I've never seen him before, and I know you haven't either. As to Bud Austin, I know him well, but I never saw him in a clown makeup before. I walked around backstage and didn't know him before, so we thought we'd like to explain that to you in advance as to why we wouldn't have known them. All right, let's meet our next team of challengers.
Okay.
What is your name, please?
My name is Pat Moss. My name is Pat Moss.
My name is Pat Moss.
Once again, panel, follow along with your copies of this affidavit, if you will. I, Pat Moss, am a sports car rally driver. I am the current women's European touring champion. In both 1959 and 1960, I won the Top Ladies Award in the Monte Carlo Rally, and last year won the Liège to Rome race, the first time this event has ever been won by a woman's team. This year, I raced at Sebring, Florida, and competed against some of the world's top men drivers, including my internationally famous brother, Stirling Moss. Signed, Pat Moss. All right, panel, you heard these three people, these three ladies, all claim to be Pat Moss, sports car racer, and we begin this round with Betty White. Betty?
Thank you, Bud. Number one, where was Stirling Moss born?
In London.
Number two, what part of London?
Clapham.
Number three, is Stirling your older or younger brother?
He's older.
Number one, what did you drive at the Monte Carlo rally, for example?
An Austin.
Number two, how far is it from Liège to Rome?
Well, we didn't actually race to Rome. It's called the Liège to Rome, to Liège race, but we don't go near Rome, actually.
Number three, what is the actual route of the Liège to Rome race?
Well, it starts at Liège, and it goes through Luxembourg, Germany, Italy, down to Trieste, through Yugoslavia, and then back through Germany, France, and back to Belgium.
Thank you.
Tom?
Thank you. Number one, what kind of fuel does a high-speed racer use?
Now they use pump fuel.
They do?
Yes.
I didn't know that. What was it previously? That's what I was interested in.
Aviation fuel.
Oh, number two, do you agree with that completely?
I certainly do.
Number three?
Yes, avgas, it used to be.
Not
any longer.
Number three, what does CC refer to in number three? What does CC refer to in a racing car?
That is the cubic capacity of the engine.
And how would you break that down more, number two? Could you give us a little more information?
Well, yes, 1,000 cc would be equivalent to 1 liter. 2,000 cc would be 2 liter, and so on.
And number one, where does that, Pat?
Number one, do you ever get angry if someone calls you a lady driver?
No.
Well, I do. I just wanted to see if you reacted. Number one, what is a Jim Arcana? Number one?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I've no idea. I'm sorry.
Number two?
I haven't got the proof.
Number three?
No.
Maybe I'm not pronouncing it correctly. What is is there a name of the award at the Monte Carlo Rally, the ladies division? Is there a name applied to this award?
Just the ladies class, or coup de dame.
That was the name I was looking for. What are some of the other famous sport car rallies? In other words, the more internet.
Every country has...
Excuse me, number three, can you name one of the other famous international rallies?
There's the Tulip. Oh, yes, the Tulip in Holland.
Yes.
One or more.
All right, number two, can you name another?
Yes, there's the 1,000 Lakes in Finland.
There's the Don Ameche.
Yes, thank you, Bud. Number three, what unusual thing happened to your brother in the Sebring race?
In the big race, you mean?
Yes.
Well, the car broke down.
Number two, what unusual thing happened to him?
Gearbox went out.
I beg your pardon?
His gearbox went out.
Number one, what unusual thing happened?
The gearbox broke.
Afraid that's it. Boy, must be pretty uncomfortable to have your gearbox go out, I would think. But let's get our gears meshed here for the voting now, if you will, please, panel. And without any further consultation, will you kindly mark your ballots? Voting for number one, number two, or number three. Everybody set? All right, Tom, for whom this time?
I voted for number one on a kind of default, in a way. I got an answer for the CC, but I didn't get a chance to really find out if they knew that it meant cubic centimeters and where that displacement occurred. I figured that number one would know. I don't know why.
All right, Pat, which one do you think is the real one?
I voted for number one also because she looks like she's outdoors all the time. She's a very healthy-looking young woman, and she also is very calm. And for a lady driver, I think that's very important.
Certainly helpful. Don?
I voted for number two, Bud, and I wish I had a good reason.
And Betty?
I'm not going to vote this time because I was so brilliant the last time. I figure I'm just going to quit while I'm ahead, and that's it. But I'm going to go with number two because Don did, I think. Yes. The only reason I can do that.
For the same reason. All right. Once again, we've come to that moment when we discover how right or wrong we are. And if you're checking your own score at home, see how you made out this time with us. As we find out which one of these young ladies is the real racing car driver, sports car racer. So will the real Pat Moss please stand up? Congratulations to you, young lady. Let's find out about the other two now. Number two, you got half of the votes. What is your real name and what do you really do?
My real name is Margaret Traub. I'm a secretary with a legal firm of Sperry, Weinberg, and Cutler in this city.
Thank you. And number three, what is your real name and what do you do?
I'm Erica Wilson, and I teach needlework and embroidery.
Oh, boy, just quickly, how did you make out this year in Sebring?
Not very well, unfortunately.
What did you place?
The clutch broke, and we came in to try and repair it, and somebody else finished the race and finished 8th.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, better luck next time. Checking our score, for example, we find there were two incorrect at $250 each for a total of $500 for you ladies from Camel Cigarettes and a carton of Camels for each of you. Thanks again for sharing your exciting experiences with us. Good night.
Thank you.
Good luck. Tell me, when you're in a restaurant, do you like to listen to the conversation at the next table? Well, come on, let's do a little eavesdropping. All right, panel, let's meet our next team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Donny MacGregor.
My name is Donny MacGregor.
My name is Donny MacGregor.
Once again, follow along, if you will, please, panel, with this affidavit. I, Donny MacGregor, used to work on a charter fishing boat. One day, we came upon a family of 4 whose sailboat was stranded on a sandbar. I swam to the sandbar and volunteered my help. When a sudden storm broke out and destroyed the sailboat, I was forced to swim 3 miles to the nearest island, towing the mother, father, and 2 children behind me. 12 hours later, we were picked up by the Coast Guard. For my part in this rescue, I was awarded the Carnegie Medal for heroism. My most memorable experience, however, was my visit to the White House in Washington, D.C., where I was given the Young American Medal for Bravery by President John F. Kennedy. Signed, Donny MacGregor. Three young men this time. Heroism is the main feature of this one, and so for our medal winner, each one claiming to be Donny MacGregor, we'll begin this round with Pat Carroll. Pat?
Number one, what were your duties on this charter fishing boat?
It was my duty to supply bait and see that the customers had everything they needed during the fishing tour.
Mm-hmm. Where was this charter fishing boat?
Off of Beaufort, South Carolina.
I see. Number two, where was the sandbar located on which this sailboat was stranded?
It was 3 miles offshore.
Offshore where?
Off of Yulee, Florida.
I see. Number three, where was this sandbar located?
3 miles off Cumberland Island.
I see. My goodness, yes. Number two, what was the, in which room did you receive this medal from President Kennedy?
Well, I was met by the president outside in the anteroom before we got into his office.
I see. Number...
Don?
Whoever is the real Donny MacGregor, may I say for all of us how delighted we are to have you and to commend you. It'll be small salve to you after getting it from President Kennedy, but it's for all of us. Number one, what do they get for the boat charter per day?
We have a party of 6 for half a day of $75.
What is the standard price for the boat per day, number two?
Oh, well, for the whole day, it's about $150.
Number three, what would be the price of your boat?
$100 a day.
$100 a day. Number two, what kind of a boat do you have?
We have it's a Le Havre.
A Le Havre?
Right, it's a diesel-powered boat.
Diesel power. Number one, what kind of
Betty?
Thank you, Bud. I just don't care which one it is. I'm proud to be here with you. Number one, what kind of fish did you fish for primarily?
We fish for crappie, for bark, and for sharks.
Number two, what did you catch the most of?
Blackfish.
Number three, what kind of bait did you use?
Mullet, plugs, squib.
Number one, I beg your pardon, number three, what was the last one?
Squib.
Thank you. Number one, what kind of bait did you use?
I use the same squib and mullet.
And number 2...
These drug products get around, I'll tell you. All right, Tom.
Thank you. I had a question. I can't think what it was now. But number 3, I've got to find this out. Number 2, I'll say number 2. How did you tow these people? Their boat was wrecked, right?
Yes, sir. Well, it was, the 2 children were on a plastic raft that they had, like, plaything. And I towed it while the 2 children were on it, and Mr. Barry, as the man was, swam behind it and pushed.
Oh, gee, that's really wonderful. Number 3, what does your medal say? Do you happen to remember?
No, sir.
Number 2, do you happen to know what your medal says?
No, sir.
Medal? Number 1?
No, sir.
Number 1, what is the name of the rig that holds the fishing line before the fish is actually hooked?
I don't know, sir.
Do you know number 2?
Outrigger.
That's about it. Once again, tonight, panel, we've come to that time when we must mark our ballots. So will you kindly do so now, without consultation, and vote as before for number 1, number 2, or number 3. All ballots marked?
No, I'm really not.
All right, Tom, mark your ballot for whom?
It's really just a guess. It's just a guess. I don't have any good reason. It's just a guess. I think they all answered the questions beautifully, and well, I'm real proud of the guy, whoever it is.
Pat, your vote.
I'm afraid I have to go that same route. I have no reason, but I wish it could be all 3 of them, but thank goodness it was 1.
Okay, Don, your ballot.
I voted for number 2. I really don't have any good reasons for voting. It's just pure guess on my part also.
Betty, what's your pure guess?
In spite of what you may think, Don and I are not going steady. No matter how I'd like to. But I voted for number 2. I was thrown a little. Both number 1 and 3 said squib, and I thought it was squid, but I have an uncomfortable feeling I heard number 2 say that just as he was going down for the count, too. So I'll get letters on why it's squib, not squid.
Okay, once again there we have our final moment. Our moment of truth, as we sometimes call it. We'll find out who's doing the falsification here and who's been telling the truth as we learn which one of these young men is the real medal-winning hero. So will the real Donny MacGregor please stand up? Thank you very much, young man. I want to echo on behalf of all of us what Don so well expressed. We're proud to know you. Now, number 1, would you tell us your real name and what you really do, please?
My name is Seth Smith. I'm a senior at the University of South Carolina in pharmacy, and I also work at the South Carolina Senate.
Thank you. And number 2, your real name and what you do, please.
My name is Bob Barry, and I work on Pier 83 for the Circle Line Sightseeing Yacht Company.
Check up our score this time, and again we find, same as the last round, that there were 2 incorrect at $250 each for a total of $500 from Camel Cigarettes. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. We're really proud of all of you. Good night, and God bless you. Now here's news of what to do for pain of headache, neuralgia, and neuritis. I'd like to explain before we say good night that our clown, Charlie Bowes, is not with the Ringling Brothers Circus, but with, somebody told me, and I've forgotten. What was it? Penny Brothers, beg your pardon. Penny Brothers Circus is where you can see him if you find that circus. Also, I'd like to point out that there's more steadying than you know of, because the last 2 rounds were voted identically. Tom and Pat are going steady, as well as Betty and Don going steady. We don't know what we started on this show. That's about all the time we have, and it was fun for me, and I hope it was fun for you, panel.
It was fun.
Good night to you.
Good night.
Bud Collier saying good night from Camel Cigarettes and reminding you to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production. This Carroll's Gown by Hannah Troy.
The name in our mailbox is Porter.
To our friends, we're Pete and Gladys.
And we're at home next on most of these stations.